Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we're diving into a sports story that's really captured imaginations, I think. It's gone way beyond just rugby. It's become this global narrative about heart, resources, and just sheer force of will.
Absolutely.
We're talking about the extraordinary journey of Canada's women's rugby team as they get ready to face England's Red Roses in the World Cup final.
It genuinely is one of the most compelling underdog stories we've seen in a while. And our mission here really is to dig into the source material we've got.
Yeah.
To understand exactly how this Canadian squad, a largely non-professional team, somehow managed to bridge what you can only call a massive resource gap to reach the very top of the sport.
The difference is, well, it's almost unbelievable when you look at it. You've got England, #1 ranked team, fully professional, backed by the RFU, the Rugby Football Union.
Huge resources there.
Huge. And then you have Rugby Canada operating on just a fraction of that. We're talking, the RFU's revenue is 20 times Rugby Canada's?
Yeah. 20 times. It's stark.
So this isn't just about tries and tackles. It feels like a financial and logistical miracle unfolding.
It really does. And look, if you're looking for these kinds of detailed, insightful analyses of big sports stories, make sure you hit that subscribe button for Rugby Obsession. Wherever you listen, you won't want to miss our breakdown of the final itself after this.
Definitely. Okay, let's unpack this journey.
Yeah.
Because the road to Twickenham, for both teams really, it seems defined by unfinished business from the 2022 World Cup.
Oh, absolutely. For England, they carry this huge weight of expectation and also that past defeat.
Right, the final loss.
Exactly. They went into that 2022 final as massive favorites, but then suffered that, crushing 34-31 loss to New Zealand.
And that broke an incredible run, didn't it?
Incredible. 62 wins in 63 matches. Just staggering. So yeah, that loss broke the streak. They haven't won the World Cup in 11 years now. And that hunger, that need for correction, it really defines this Red Roses squad.
And then on the Canadian side, 2022 seems to have provided the exact motivation they needed.
Yes.
Their tournament ended in the semifinal, losing to England 26-19 in Auckland. A close loss. And you look at the sources, the team clearly felt the difference wasn't about skill. It was about opportunity.
That's the absolute key takeaway right there. And it led directly to that rallying cry that sort of defined this whole World Cup cycle for them.
The quote from Sophie de Goot.
Exactly. Then Captain Sophie de Goot, she spoke very plainly after that defeat. She basically argued the gap was purely structural. She said, and I'm quoting here, "There was no difference in talent out there today. Just imagine what we can do with more games and more resources."
Oh, and when you look at the reality they actually face, that quote just hit so hard. The women's 15s and 7 sides, they've actually been the flagship teams for Canada since 1995.
They have. They've been the successful face of Canadian rugby, really replacing the men's side in that regard.
But even with that history of performance, Rugby Canada just hasn't had the funding stability to offer full contracts.
No.
Think about the impact of that. Captain Alex Tessier had to admit, and it sounds painful, we do need a lot more resources. I hate to say that we're used to it, but it's something that is out of our control.
Imagine saying you're used to lacking resources at that level. It means every training camp, every single fixture, it's a challenge they have to somehow fit around demanding full-time lives.
So, if the governing body can't provide the resources, the team basically had to take control themselves.
Which led to this campaign.
Mission: win Rugby World Cup 2025. A huge public campaign.
That's the crux of the financial story, isn't it? They set out to raise 1 million Canadian dollars, which is about £535,000 through crowdfunding.
Just asking the public, the fans.
Yeah, and the community response has been immense. Pledges have already hit 95% of that huge target.
It's amazing, truly. But the crucial question, I guess, is how does £500,000 actually bridge a resource gap that's 20 times bigger? Where did that specific money go? How did it translate into getting them to a World Cup final?
Well, the main focus was simply time together and overcoming just enormous logistical hurdles.
Right.
That money funded essential, dedicated training camps, places like California, Ontario, Belfast, and crucial warm-up tests, too, in South Africa and Ireland.
Okay.
And this was absolutely vital because you have to remember, their 32-player squad is gathered from 8 of Canada's 13 massive provinces and territories.
Across 6 time zones.
Exactly, 6 time zones. Without that fan funding, they simply couldn't have afforded the extended periods together they needed to build cohesion.
That logistical challenge alone. Just gathering athletes from across a country that vast, coordinating 6 time zones, it's staggering. And despite that huge financial disparity, the makeup of this squad is just so resilient and, well, unique.
It really highlights that amateur grit meeting, professional standards. Over half the squad do play for professional clubs abroad, England, France, New Zealand. That provides a base of high-level experience.
Sure.
But the rest?
The rest are the amateurs, the ones holding down full-time jobs. The squad includes 2 active firefighters, an engineer, a school coach, and we're not just listing jobs here. These are high-stress professions. They require immense discipline, time management.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Is it possible that this kind of non-traditional athlete pool brings an inherent mental toughness? Maybe a work ethic that sometimes purely professional rugby might lack?
That's a brilliant point. I mean, the discipline to be a professional firefighter and stay in peak condition for elite rugby. Arguably, that's tougher than for a fully contracted athlete who only focuses on rugby.
And that leads us straight to their coach, Kevin Rouet. He's French, and he seems to really appreciate that tenacity. Okay. He praises the Canadian work ethic, specifically calls out their willingness to work very hard and not complain.
This coaching style seems quite distinct, too. Very direct, maybe, focusing on what needs fixing rather than maybe softer approaches.
Definitely. He even noted himself, they don't mind if he doesn't cuddle them sometimes, his words, because they want the straight feedback.
It's a very blunt, results-first philosophy, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And he's clearly pushing them for a bit of a cultural shift, maybe.
Seems like it. Remember after they just, blew away Australia 46-5 in the quarterfinals?
Yeah.
He famously accused his own team of being too Canadian, too nice.
Chunkles slightly.
Really? Yeah. He's clearly trying to instill a kind of ruthless edge that perhaps their amateur status might naturally temper sometimes.
Oh, if you're enjoying this level of deep analysis, looking into the mindset and strategy of elite sport, remember to subscribe to Rugby Obsession right now. Make sure you don't miss our next deep dive into coaching philosophy and team culture.
Definitely worth it. Now, the team's rise, particularly in this current campaign, it really seemed to take off with the return of Sophie de Goede back in July.
The captain.
She was out for 13 months. ACL injury, that's the anterior cruciate ligament, a really devastating knee injury. Her return has just been transformative for them.
She's an absolute phenomenon, isn't she? Already nominated for the 2025 World Player of the Year. And critically, she's what they call a rugby rarity, a goal-kicking forward.
Yeah, and that's really important context for you listening. Kicking duties, those high-pressure goal attempts, they're almost always reserved for the smaller, more agile players in the backline.
The fly halves, the fullbacks.
Exactly. For a forward, someone whose main job is that relentless physical grind in the scrum and the rucks, to also handle the kicking. It just shows an unbelievable skill set and incredible mental composure under pressure.
And her stats back it up. Her individual metrics show that impact. She leads the World Cup currently in 3 key categories. Carries, offloads, and line-out takes.
Dominant.
Plus, she's chipped in 55 points herself for Canada. She is fundamentally defining how they play.
And if you look at the results since she's been back, her plea from 2022, imagine what we can do with more games and more resources. Well, it feels like it's been answered by the team's performance this year.
Totally. They swept their pool games, Fiji, Wales, Scotland.
And the knockout stage was even more stunning, really. Blitzed Australia in the quarters, like we said. And then, most remarkably, they dismantled the 2-time defending champions, New Zealand, in the semifinal.
That win, it handed the Black Ferns their first knockout loss in the World Cup in 34 years.
34 years. That's a massive psychological victory. And underpinning that really aggressive performance is a key technical insight we found in the sources. Canada has achieved the fastest ruck speed in the entire tournament.
Okay, wait, let's unpack that for a second. Fastest ruck speed. What's the significance of that for this particular squad facing England?
It means they're getting the ball back into play incredibly quickly after a tackle, recycling possession fast.
Right.
This speed, it prevents the opposing defense, especially a world-class, professional, drilled unit like England's, from getting properly reset and organized.
Ooh.
So for a team with maybe less depth, facing a deeply drilled opponent, speed and a bit of chaos are their best friends. They're essentially using efficiency and tempo to counter England's professional structure and depth.
That level of intensity and speed, though, it's going to face its biggest test this weekend, surely. The sheer noise, the volume of that historic crowd expected at Twickenham.
Oh, absolutely. We're looking at around 82,000 fans expected for the final. That is genuinely historic.
That's huge.
It will completely smash the existing attendance record for a women's 15-a-side match. That was 58,498 set when England beat France in 2023. This is just a colossal home field advantage for England.
And this is where Canada's underdog preparation gets really fascinating, isn't it? How do you possibly train for that kind of noise? A massive stadium where you literally can't hear your teammates calling plays?
They used headphones and speakers blaring noise.
Seriously?
Exactly. Apparently, it started with just basic crowd noise from a football match piped into their ears during training sessions.
Okay.
Then they escalated it. They brought in a large speaker blasting noise while the players were still wearing headphones, deliberately hindering their ability to communicate verbally on the pitch.
So they had to rely on nonverbal cues. Hand signals, instinct.
Precisely. They had to find other ways.
So is this potentially linked back to their fastest ruck speed then? They trained themselves to rely on visual signals, timing, maybe muscle memory, not sound, to keep that speed of play going even in chaos.
That's a fascinating thought. Wing Asia Hogan Rochester summed up the psychological side of it quite well, noting that after a certain point, thousands of fans, it's all just noise. It becomes a wash.
Helps manage the pressure, maybe.
Yeah, Coach Rouleau was pretty pragmatic about it. He acknowledged it was, quote, just an idea. Whether it works or not, we will never know. But he did confirm it helped the players with releasing the pressure. It gave them something specific, tangible, to prepare for that sensory overload.
You know, that rising profile, it's finally being reflected back home in Canada, too, which must validate all their efforts.
Definitely.
They were watched recently by a Canada record crowd, 11,453 in Ottawa, when they beat the U.S. last month.
Yeah, the country's definitely noticing now. The team's clearly hitting the mainstream if they're getting shout-outs from, like, Canadian pop icon Shania Twain.
Chuckles. Right. Fullback Julia Schell, apparently a big Twain fan, said she just freaked out when she saw the message.
I love to see it.
That national spotlight, that attention, it's now squarely on this, let's be honest, resource-starved team. They went from basically passing a virtual hat around for training camps to being the subject of genuine national pride.
It has been an absolutely incredible journey to watch unfold. You've got a team gathered from across 6 time zones, funded in large part by their own fan base, who actively had to fight for the resources they needed.
Yeah.
And now they're standing on the absolute precipice of history at Twickenham.
And if Canada somehow manages to snatch this victory against England, it's not just winning the World Cup, is it? They'd actually climb to the top of the world rankings, above the Red Roses.
Which would be unprecedented, truly, given everything we've discussed about that resource disparity.
What a story that would be.
It fundamentally reframes what we think is possible in elite sport, especially under financial constraints. So we'll leave you, the listener, with this thought. Given everything you've heard, the massive resource cap, the crowdfunding mission, their unique training treatments, what specific element of Canada's underdog story stands out most to you? Is it their amateur structure, their ruck speed, their coaching, or just that sheer tenacity? What do you think is the key reason they are now genuine contenders?
Let us know what you think. And please remember to subscribe to Rugby Obsession for all the most important stories and in-depth analyses like this in the world of sports.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
And we'll look forward to you listening to our next episode.